Alright guys, so today I'm gonna explain whether you need to use apps or not, language learning apps. The short answer is no. Now like a lot of the app developers aren't gonna like when I hear this, but really, even as supplements, even as a supplement, they are actually not needed. Because there's I think the best so here's the thing. The best way to learn language, period, is to immerse yourself in language. Is to get exposed to the language, right? Immersing yourself in the language so that your subconscious brain can acquire the language, right? Subconsciously, so that it can code the sound patterns and everything. But I do think conscious study does play a role when it comes to language acquisition. So learning how to memorize vocabulary, I think, is very helpful when it comes to aiding in the acquisition process. So I do advocate for spending a little bit of time every single day memorizing vocabulary. But the problem is, you don't need to use these apps to memorize vocabulary. You can use Anki. Literally, Anki is software. Basically, Anki means Ankisuru is like basically it means to rote memorize in Japanese. That's the meaning of the word. That's why it's Anki, because you're memorizing stuff, right? You use it as a flashcard. But Anki is free, guys, on a desktop. If you guys have a computer or laptop, you can download Anki, and if you use it, like, it's free, guys. So you don't necessarily even need to pay language learning apps to help you even memorize vocabulary, because you can use all this stuff for free with Anki. And then for the immersion, for like learning things in context, you can use YouTube and Netflix. So I don't see any point in learning using these apps, right? And even with Pimsleur, here's the thing, Pimsleur is nice, but like I said, it's not even necessary when you get enough immersion. Because because I've done Pimsleur with French, and here's the thing, it like sort of works when you're trying to like maybe get like a baseline level of ability if you're going to France for 2 weeks. So if you're going to like vacation to France for like 2 weeks, and you're not looking to achieve a high level of fluency in French, then like maybe Pimsleur might be helpful to like kind of get you started at speaking basic French, like basic phrases in French, right? It can get you started, But if you want to achieve like a high level of fluency where you want to continuously use the language for a long period of time, right after your trip, you don't need to use a Pimsleur because you can just focus on immersing yourself in the language and developing the actual linguistic ability, right? And maybe use Anki, a free software, a flashcard, like on the side. You don't ever need to use, these language learning apps, and that's the reality. Especially Duolingo, like, oh my god, it's like no wonder like no one gets fluent using Duolingo. I'm just saying, like, even like the best people that have meticulously used Duolingo for language, they don't know how to speak, because you're not actually acquiring language. You're just consciously doing a bunch of vocab, right? But like I said, you don't need to use Duolingo for that. You can use Anki, a free software. You can download Dex. You can make your own flashcards, right, for own words that are relevant to your immersion. Like, if you like watching anime, you can use and learn anime words, right? So when you watch like Hunter x Hunter or like Attack on Titan, you can learn the words that they're using in the show, and you can actually like put and make your own flashcards with those words, because it's relevant to your immersion. It's relevant to what you're getting exposed to. So like learning those words is relevant. Whereas like language learning apps, they don't know what you want in your immersion. Because the thing with language is like it's very domain specific. It's a very vast domain of things. Like there's like anime vocabulary, there's fantasy, there's slice of life, there's news vocabulary, there's even dialects of Japanese. There's a lot of different, like types of language, right? Types of domains in language that just a mere app won't be able to customize what you need, Like, for example, like I spend, my French immersion with YouTube videos in French, right? And that domain is more like in the conversational aspect. It sticks to the conversation, but I learn a lot of like Twitch stream type of vocabulary that they use, like with gaming and stuff, right? And because they play like a lot of like games that use guns, I know a lot of gun vocabulary in French, right? But like Duolingo or like Pimsleur or whatever, like they're not going to teach me that, right? But that's relevant to my immersion, so I want to learn it. But like for me, like for French, right? Like I don't need to learn literary vocabulary, because I'm not gonna read books in French. So there's no point in me learning all these like super hard like phrases in French that are only used in books. I don't need to learn those. Right now, if I was reading those books, and it would be relevant for me, so then I would use those words to put into my Anki. But I don't necessarily need to learn it, right? So that's why, like, when it comes to your conscious study of language, you need to have it be based off what you are immersing with. So if you're watching anime, you learn anime vocabulary. You basically take the words you learn from there and you put it into a flashcard. Like, imagine you learn like a word like they said in Black Clover or JoJo or in Hunter x Hunter. Like, they say a word, like, you're gonna be able to memorize that word way easier because it was used in the Hunter x Hunter show. Like, it was used in Hunter x Hunter, right? Or it was used in One Piece or Naruto. Like, Naruto said this word, so I'm gonna memorize this word because Naruto said it. You're gonna be able to memorize the word so much easier that way. When it's like relevant to your actual immersion that you like. So that's why even for like the place of like conscious studying, which I highly, I don't recommend people spend, copious amounts of time studying the language. Like I said, immersion is where most of the heavy lifting is done, where most of the subconscious processes happen, right? So even for the place of like conscious learning, like I don't even recommend apps, because like I said, you have Anki, that's free. Like literally for free, guys. You can make flashcards for free on Anki. Just use that software. And it's very easy to make cards. Like it's very intuitive. So yeah, guys, I don't really think that apps are needed. Because first of all, like we don't study languages, we acquire them subconsciously. And even with the conscious study that does aid in the language acquisition process, ultimately we can just rely on Anki. I don't see any need for anyone to be using the apps or even pay money for the apps, as a matter of fact.